Hello YouTube, this is eGaming Television bringing you guys another League of Legends guide. This is patch 5.24, season 6, and today we are doing Riven. So Riven in this patch got two small buffs, one being her health regen went from 3.4 to 5.4, and the bottom Cunning Mastery talent, Thunderlord's Decree, gained a small bonus attack damage as well. Riven was already a decent top laner, and now she's going to be even more viable. So in this guide, we're going to cover her pros and cons, masteries, runes, summoners, abilities, and her ability leveling order. Now we're going to jump right into Riven's pros and cons. Her first pro being she's rather mobile. She has a short range dash, which also gives her a shield, and her Q can create gaps or chase down opponents with small jumps. She's also an insanely fun champion to play. Most top laners don't really carry insanely hard, stuff like, your Mundos and whatnot, but Riven can carry games single-handedly with all of her AoE damage. Like I was saying before, she snowballs very hard and does a lot of AoE damage. You get a Ravenous Hydra on her, as well as her Q hitting multiple targets. Her R's second form also can sweep through a whole team and do devastating damage. Riven's last pro is that she's also a duelist. She can 1v1 most opponents, and a Riven that's way ahead can split push easily as nobody has a chance to fight her. One of Riven's cons is that she's really squishy early. She has to build attack damage and get lifesteal, and doesn't have the opportunity really to get armor or magic resist unless you're going for those certain boots. If you fall behind in the lane, it may be hard to find a place in the game at all, as it's really hard to get back into a game as Riven. There's also a ton of skill matchups, so when you're starting out as Riven, it may be hard to win lane against certain opponents. Now we look at the Masteries Riven takes, which is 12 Ferocity and 18 Cunning. In Ferocity you get 2% ability damage, you deal 3% more damage, you gain 10 attack damage, and you get 1% damage increase per each unique champion kill. In Cunning you get 3% move speed, biscuits and pots last 10% longer, 5% more damage to champions below 40% health, champion kills and assists give 5% HP, cooldown cap is 45%, and you gain 5% cooldown reduction, and your third attack or spell calls down a lightning strike for some extra damage. Now we're going to look at Riven's runes, which are a little different than their typical champion. So you get 9 greater marks of attack damage, 6 greater glyphs of cooldown reduction, 3 greater glyphs of scaling cooldown reduction, 9 greater seals of armor, and 3 greater quintessences of attack damage. The reason for the two different types of glyphs is with them combined you get 10% cooldown reduction, which means you only need 30% more cooldown reduction to be capped from your items. For our summoners, we take Flash and Teleport. As one note, you can take Ignite if you feel you need it against a certain champion, as well as if you don't have the best map awareness in order to use your Teleport effectively. We take Flash because it can be used for chasing, escaping, repositioning, and many more things. Teleport allows you to push lanes while still being able to make it to team fights if needed. If used correctly, it can secure kills as well as objectives for your team. Now we're going to talk about each of Riven's abilities, starting with Runic Blade, which is her passive. Riven's Blade gains a charge for 5 seconds every time she casts an ability, stacking up to 3 times. Each of her basic attacks consumes an available charge to deal between 20 and 50%, which is based on your level, AD, bonus physical damage. So this is pretty self-explanatory. We'll cover it a bit more in depth when we get to the Q, which is in a second, but basically you have to use basic attacks pretty often in between each of your abilities so you do not waste any stacks. So now we look at Broken Wings, which is Riven's Q and is her main ability. Riven dashes towards the target nearest the cursor or in the direction she is currently facing and lashes out at all enemies in front of her, dealing physical damage. Broken Wings can be cast twice more within 4 seconds, with the timer resetting after each cast. The third damages all enemies around Riven in an expanded radius, knocks them up, and can also be used to pass over certain instances of terrain. Each cast of Broken Wings resets Riven's auto attack timer. So because of that last part and how your passive works, it's best to use your Q, then auto attack, Q, auto attack, Q, auto attack. By doing this, you're using your passive as effectively as possible and you're getting out as much damage as you can. Next is Key Burst, which is Riven's W. Riven's sword emits a burst of runic energy that shocks nearby enemies, dealing physical damage and stunning them for 0.75 seconds. Now 0.75 seconds does not sound like a long time, but to a fed Riven, that is easily enough time to completely delete a squishy target. The skill does not gain stun duration, all it gets from leveling up is a bit more damage, which is why we do not prioritize this ability in leveling order. Riven's next ability is Valor, which is her E. When activated, Riven dashes towards the cursor and gains a shield that absorbs incoming damage for 1.5 seconds. The shield's strength is between 90 and 210 plus 100% bonus attack damage. This shield is very good for trading with your opponent and gets very strong since it's also scaling off of your AD. Riven's last ability is her ultimate, which has two forms, the first being Blade of the Exile. When activated, Riven reforms her sword for 15 seconds, gaining 20% AD as bonus attack damage, increasing her attack range by 75 for a total of 200. For Blade of the Exile's duration, Riven can use Wind Slash once. So for this first form, Riven can attack from slightly farther away, as well as getting a 20% bonus AD, which makes it very strong in team fights. The second stage is called Wind Slash. When activated, Riven unleashes a wave of energy and a cone, dealing physical damage to all enemies hit, increased by 2.67% for every 1% of target's missing health, for a maximum 200% increase at 75% of target's missing health. Since this is based on the percentage of your opponent's health missing, it's best to use Blade of the Exile for as long as possible, get targets low, and use Wind Slash when you can hit more than one target since the cone is rather big to finish off enemies. Now that we've covered each of the abilities, we're going to talk about our ability leveling order. So first priority is Blade of the Exile, which is your ultimate, taken when you can, which means level 6, 11, and 16. Second priority is Broken Wings, which is your Q, taken at level 1 and is main leveling priority, so you take it at 1, 4, 5, 7, and 9. Next is Valor, which is your shield, which is also E, taken at level 3 and is second leveling priority, so you take it at 3, 8, 10, 12, and 13. Finally, Key Burst, your W, is taken at level 2 and is last in leveling priority, so you take it at 2, 14, 15, 17, and 18. Next, we're going to look at Riven's item build, and it's worthy to note that you need 30% cooldown reduction from items. You have a total of 45% cooldown reduction because of your one talent, which also gives 5%, so you need 40%. You get 10% from your runes, which leaves the 30% needed from your items. There's two ways to go about getting the 30% cooldown reduction, one with the Black Cleaver and one without the Black Cleaver. Black Cleaver is good because it gives 20% cooldown reduction, however it's not one of the best in-slot items in my opinion. Because of this I get Ghostblade, followed by Ravenous Hydra, Boots of Lucidity, then Into a Death's Dance, Bloodthirster, and Guardian Angel. This build gives you the AoE from the Ravenous Hydra, the 30% cooldown reduction needed, as well as a shitload of lifesteal and a Guardian Angel as well. The first alternative to this core build, of course, is the Black Cleaver, and a few defensive pickups are the Banshee's Veil, Mercurial Scimitar, and the Dead Man's Plate. Use your skills to trade as effectively as possible. You can always dash in, stun, auto attack, land some Qs, and then Q back out to get as much damage as possible and receive none in return. Keep in mind that the more cooldown reduction Riven has, the stronger she becomes, so just try to farm as much as possible in lane, and when you get the cooldown reduction you'll start dishing out huge damage. Riven is also an amazing split pusher with all of the AoE she gets from her skills, as well as the Ravenous Hydra in her build. You have the teleport to make it into team fights, so split push away and collect all the gear you need. Keep in mind that the third use of her Q can be used to jump over walls to escape from enemies. And you can also use your Q and dash to get back into your lane faster than most other champions. Riven will take a lot of time to learn and master, but she is a skill-based champion she can carry as hard as the rest of them. She's one of those champions when she has the right gear, she can sit in a push, and as somebody walks past, instantly delete them, and then the team can push and have a 5v4. I'd like to thank you guys for watching this guide. This is the first 5.24 guide that we have released this patch, although obviously the patch is brand new. We'll be covering a bunch of the other champions that have changed in the patch, so make sure you guys look out for those. Please like and subscribe if you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Also, if you have any champion suggestions for a guide, please leave them in the comments, and I will be sure to look and make a guide on those characters.